for the webinar Insight Indepth. Today we are proudly presenting our 58th talk series. Let us begin today's program seeking the blessings by invoking the Almighty with a prayer.
സത്യവും സ്നേഹവും ജ്ഞാനവും ശക്തിയും ഒത്തുവിളങ്ങിടും തമ്പുരാനേ, ഞങ്ങൾ തന്നുള്ളിലെ അന്ധത നീക്കുവാൻ അങ്ങു വെളിച്ചം ചൊരിഞ്ഞിടേണം. നേരായ മാർഗത്തിലൂടെ ചരിക്കുവാൻ പോരായ്മയൊക്കെയും തീർത്തിടേണം. ഭാരതത്തിനഭിമാന പാത്രങ്ങളായി തീരുവാൻ ഞങ്ങളെ കാത്തിടേണം. നന്മയിലേക്കു നയിക്ക നീ ഞങ്ങളെ, ചിന്മയാതൃപദം കൂപ്പിടുന്നേ. സത്യവും സ്നേഹവും ജ്ഞാനവും ശക്തിയും ഒത്തുവിളങ്ങിടും തമ്പുരാനേ.
Thank you, Sanila ma'am, for the wonderful prayer song. Now I call upon Rani B, research scholar, for the welcome address.
Am I audible now?
Yes, teacher, you are audible.
Good evening to one and all gathered here. Hope all of you are safe. I am Rani B, research scholar, Matthew Phillips Training College. Our prestigious institution, Matthew Phillips Training College, is also offering an open platform, Insight Indepth talk series for different scholars, academicians, and prospective teachers to share their ideas. Today, we are here with the 58th Insight Indepth talk series. I find myself delighted to welcome our most respected principal, Dr. K.Y. Benedict, sir, who is the backbone of this program. With due respect to his vision, I extend a delightful welcome to our principal, Dr. K.Y. Benedict, sir. Welcome, sir. Qualitative research can be found in many disciplines and fields using a variety of approaches, methods, and techniques. Today, I am delighted because our resource person is none other than Dr. K.Y. Benedict, sir. He is here with us to enrich the knowledge and feed our brain with meaningful thoughts. On the topic, a welcome note on qualitative research. I use this opportunity to welcome our principal, sir, Benedict, sir. Actually, he's an outstanding scholar and having a staring personality to this Insight Indepth talk series. Welcome you, sir, to this session. Now it's time to welcome our research coordinator, Dr. Bindu ma'am. Actually, she's a very gentle, polite, and simple person, always ready to support around us. Welcome you, ma'am, to this program. Again, I take this opportunity to welcome all the distinguished guests, participants, teachers, departmental heads, academicians, and research scholars to this session. On behalf of the principal, professors, research guides of MTTC, once again, I extend a massive welcome to all. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Rani ma'am, for your wonderful welcome speech. Now I invite Swami Gurunath Jnana Tabasi to introduce the guest of honor for today's talk.
Am I audible?
Yes, Swamiji, you are audible.
A warm good afternoon to one and all. It's quite a pleasure and privilege to introduce the guest of honor of the day, Dr. K.Y. Benedict, our beloved principal and the director of research, Matthew Phillips Training College, and particularly the backbone of this prestigious institution. He is many things beyond. He is the founder director of Creative Curriculum Concept, C-Cube Foundation, a secular, equal opportunity, non-profit oriented NGO in applied pedagogy. He has been the General Secretary and Vice President of Council for Teacher Education, CTE, Kerala State. He has been a member of the Institution Accreditation Council of Ramlal Bajaj Foundation, Mumbai, and he has been in the peer team of NAC accreditation, member of BT panel, National Council for Teacher Education, and has been the General Secretary of All Kerala Training College Principals Association. He is a national level trainer in advanced science education and educational technology. Former member, Board of Studies in Education, Kerala University. Member in the core committee of recent curriculum revision of Bachelor of Education and Master of Education of Kerala University. And also the Vice President of Shivadasan Pillai Foundation for Education Research and Development. Also, he has bagged many awards in his regard. He got Emma Folger Award for his proficiency in MTTC examination from Meston College, Chennai. Then he got FIP Fellowship of UGC, and he got the prestigious Young Scientist Award at the 14th Kerala Science Congress by Government of Kerala in 2002. And he got the Best Teacher Educator Award, the first recipient after the inception of CTE. And he got NP Pillai Publication Award also for publication in foreign journals and archives. He has trained more than 14,000 teachers during the career of 23 years as a teacher educator. He produced 3 PhD in science education under his guideship, and 5 are in pipeline. He has been the editor of many books, and he authored 2 books, Bhaudika Shastra Bodhanam, Oru Amukham. It is in Malayalam regarding teacher education, science education, and DC book is yet to publish another book, Ajirikkapadenda Shastra Dinangal. And it's a privilege, and I am so humbled to say that I am able to do my PhD under his guardianship. With all respect and love, we welcome you, dear sir, to share your valuable insights in depth to us. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Swami Gurunand.
Thank you, Swamiji. Before we get started, a few announcements and humble request to all the participants. Kindly mute your audio and video for the smooth conduct of program. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat box. We will bring them up during the discussion at the end. E-certificates for participation will be issued, so kindly mark your attendance and share your thoughts through the feedback form, which will be provided at the end of the session. You can also watch our recorded sessions of Insight In-Depth Talk series on our official YouTube channel named MTTC Nalanchira. The link will be shared through our Insight In-Depth WhatsApp group. Now let me invite the speaker of today's session, Dr. K.Y. Benedict, sir, a personality with vibrant and dynamic aura. Sir, please share your wisdom with us. And now the platform is yours.
Hello, is it visible now?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Sorry for the inconveniences caused because I have changed from my laptop to my daughter's new laptop, which has some new other features for all these visible programs. Good evening and welcome to each and every one of you for this interactive session for an hour. And this may be nothing new for each and every one of you, but a recalling of our information. I have titled my presentation as Towards Qualitative Research Paradigm. Actually, this presentation was a little old collection from my presentations, which I have made for a presentation in one of the teacher education college for MTTC graduates. But today I may not be able to complete everything as I have prepared, but I will take a few slides out of that so that you will get a particular kind of initial introduction regarding the qualitative research paradigm. Before coming to the actual presentation, let me pay my respect to my research guide, guru and mentor, Dr. N. Vedamani Manuel, who was the former Dean, Faculty Head and Head of the Department of Education, University of Kerala. The continuous acquaintance and association with him more than a decade might have paved my interest in the field of qualitative research, which almost 90 to 95% of the research scholars and research guides may not be comfortable even today, though this qualitative research has emerged as a very prominent mechanism of doing research in the past 2 to 3 decades. When we think about the process of research, one primary information that we have to keep in our mind is that there is no beginning and end for a research. You can start years for beginning a research. We have to get basic degree or post graduation. There must be an entrance test for being applied for a research, and many other procedures are there. From that point of view, we can say that the research has a beginning and end. As soon as you are getting a degree awarded or a dissertation you are publishing, we may say that the research is being completed. But it is not actually true. Research seems to be a cyclic process. Research in itself is a built-in error correction. There are two prominent approaches to research. Number one is the positivist one, and the other one is interpretive one. The major characteristics of positivist approach is the context-free, and the interpretive approach is the context-specific. And this positivist approach we have borrowed from pure science and being applied to the social science. At the time, there was a discrimination between the status of researchers in science and social science. And social science people themselves had a very pessimistic view that they are some less standard stuff than the pure science people. So what they thought that we will borrow the highly positivist scientific hypothetical deductive approach of the pure science into the social science. And that's why the current prominently existing trend of social science research, which is mainly quantitative in nature, has prevailed for the last 50 to 60 years in our amidst us. See, this positivist paradigm is highly objective and the interpretive paradigm is subjective. So which and highly scientific, but the other one is knowledge influenced by multiple realities, aims to uncover the meaning of the phenomenon. And the research method seems to be structured, replicable, experimental, results are quantifiable. But the argument that even in a pure science research, some of the research are not replicable at any part of the universe. For example, a research that is being conducted in a normal laboratory situation, for example, a normal atmospheric temperature and pressure, could not be conducted in a low pressure area or in a low gravity area or in a very high temperature area, in which all the particular kind of that replicability argument itself is a false argument, but generally it is believed. But in an interpretive qualitative paradigm, researcher is a co-creator of meaning, brings subjective experiences to the research, try to capture an insider knowledge, and research conducted in natural settings. Next. And so while qualitative research is experiential and close to a reality, in which what the people think and how they feel is more significant, and the information seems to be highly subjective in nature, but that subjective information is so significant in a natural setting, in a social science setting. That is applicable in our classroom practices, research in education too. And qualitative research seems to be interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary and counterdisciplinary in certain cases, so that we can conduct this qualitative research in a multi-paradigmatic manner. Its practitioners are sensitive to the value of multi-method approach. But in scientific research, if you stick upon a particular kind of research, neither the research guide nor the student may not be permitted to deviate left or right to the approved straightforward pathway of the method selected. So that method controlled, so much control over the specified method. For example, if you are going for an experimental design in a particular kind of context, then there will be a lot of arguments regarding what is the mechanism that you have used, what are the different kinds of approaches that you have taken, how you have controlled the situation, how you have done experimented the situation. Even in certain natural cases, standard A is selected as a control group and standard B is selected, division B is selected as the experimental group. Unfortunately, on the day of taking the data or doing the experimentation, there may be some absentees in one class, the other is equating, though there are statistical, mathematical route by which we can regulate that particular deficiencies. But that particular method-driven approach seems to be so that we are being controlled by the method. But in a qualitative research, you are free to combine more than one method. Even if you feel that you can create a new method, that itself become a contribution to the knowledge. So that the qualitative researchers are committed to the naturalistic perspective, and they come to the development of interpretive understanding of human experience. Next. So qualitative research, in one way or the other way, we call it as a naturalistic inquiry. Naturalistic inquiry, meaning that the researcher just report on what is there and does not try to manipulate or intervene in any way. Sometimes naturalistic inquiry is compared to the process of newspaper reporting. I have heard that in certain kind of data assistance group, suppose that you want to get a research report being typed and get printed out, the statisticians or the technician that is associated with that particular institute may demand from the research candidate, see, what are your hypotheses and give your data. The rest of the work we will do. What they are doing is that either they will adjust the hypothesis or they will recount the number by which the hypothesis may be rejected or accepted. We may not know the technical quality, that process that is being going on. So comparing to the methodology, the quantitative and the qualitative seems to be explanation prediction related, but qualitative seems to be explanation description driven. Testing of theories and known variables, but qualitative building of theories, unknown variables. Even you can design your own variable set. In one of my research associated with one of my candidates, I have designed a new nomenclature for the variables. We have designed a new nomenclature for the variables. So there are possibilities, n number of possibilities for the researcher and the research team to invent many things, even in the methodology side or even in the theory interpretation side. Very large samples are to be taken for a quantitative, comparatively large sample. And then even a handful of sample is very easily conducted in a qualitative. Standardized instruments and observations, interviews, etc. could be used in qualitative. Quantitative research mainly depends upon the deductive logic, but there are possibility of inductive reasoning in qualitative research. Next. See, quantitative study, which are the steps? Establish the problem to be investigated. Because of paucity of time, I have to skip a little, I have to move a little faster. So I request the participants to go through the slides and come up with more questions at the discussion time. Stating the purpose of the study, develop a conceptual or theoretical framework for the study, formulate general and specific research questions. Next. So instead of having objectives or hypotheses, the research questions seems to be more important. Next slide, please. Select a qualitative research design. Select a sampling strategy. Ensure trustworthiness of the study. In quantitative study, we call it as the validity and reliability. We call it as the trustworthiness here in qualitative study. Determine data collection method and develop data collection tools. Both in qualitative and quantitative study, there are very streamlined methods and tools are possible. Even nowadays, you can quantify the qualitative data even by using softwares that are specially designed for that. Establish how data will be managed and analyzed. Just interpretation and discussion of findings and preparing the research report. This seems to be a general framework of the steps. It's not compulsory that you have to stick on all these things. There may be ample possibility for the researcher to skip one or two steps or to combine one or two steps into a new paradigm. That kind of freedom is there. The next part and the closing part of this today's presentation is a quick glance into the various qualitative research types of qualitative research designs. I have selected only very significant 5 out of many. Number 1, the case study design, the ethnography design, grounded theory design, phenomenology design, participatory research. See the case study. Next, very simple that nothing to elaborate much on a case study for everyone, whether it is in quantitative study also we utilize the case study method, but prominently in qualitative study we use case study as a particular research design. See, interest is in an individual case rather than a method of inquiry. Data may be quantitative or qualitative, or you can combine both quantitative and qualitative data could be collected in a case study approach. Focus on what can be learned from the individual case. A case may be simple or complex. That means a single child or a group of children or a class itself could be taken as, or even a school could be taken as a case study. There are various types of case studies. Number 1 is intrinsic case study, that the case itself is an item of interest. Then instrumental case study, a particular case is studied to provide insight into an issue or to refine an existing theory. Or a collective case study, a number of cases are being studied jointly in order to investigate a total phenomenon. Instrumental study extended to several cases, it becomes collective case study. So let us give some examples of the case study. Previous slide, please. Not to ethnography, case study itself. Okay. So, for example, you can take a single organization, a school. What happens with a particular strategy? If I am adopting a particular strategy, what happens to the school environment or the learning environment could be taken as a case study. Or a particular community. For example, a rural or tribal settlement could be taken as a community for a case study. Or aboriginals from a particular region of the land. On a particular group, you can have a case study. For example, the Adivasis, the aboriginals, an individual. For example, a special behavior of a particular case. For example, we might have a few years back, we might have had a particular wild elephant become so troublesome to people nearby our Eastern Ghats, Gechagalli or something like that, the name of that wild elephant. You can take that particular case as an individual case study, or even a decision could be part of a case study. For example, suppose that we are trying to merging of 2 schools. Or suppose that we are following the Hadar Commission report, we are merging the school systems, that is higher secondary and the secondary level is going to be merged in Kerala. What happens? That could be taken as a two automobile manufacturing companies are, for example, Tata is absorbing the Jaguar, so that being dissolved, mixed into one company. What happens? Or even Byju's app is collaborating with Agash in the IT service sector. So what is going to be the impact in economy and in the dissemination of knowledge and in the new generation training? So all these could be taken as a decision, could be part of a case study, or even could be taken as a case study. For example, the election that is going to be held in Punjab or Goa to be happen in this month or next month, or in today's union budget, the finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced that instead of having 12 channels for the school education, we will be having 200 channels. So that is going to be a futuristic, promising decision in the field of education. So that could be taken as a case study. So that there are a number of opportunities for case studies in qualitative interpretive paradigm. Next, we'll come to the ethnography. This ethnographic design is rooted in anthropology. See, it's also called, sometimes it is also called participant observation, or it is called as an emic picture. An emic picture. So an insider view. So ethno means people and graphy means describing something. So a process of this particular ethnographic design is characterized by the process of immersion. The researcher and the subjects and the context of research, they are being the researcher is being part of a group, the social culture of that particular group, etc., become part of the ethnographic design. Next. And then the researcher could be a complete observer in that case, or the researcher could be as a participant, or participant as observer, or as a complete participant. Many form of immersion is possible in the ethnographic research. This is one of the prominent area of qualitative research and design in qualitative research. We can have a lot of sometimes even 3 times or 4 times number of research is possible in ethnographic study rather than the so-called stereotype quantitative study that we have done so far for the last 50 years. See, different kinds of next. Move to the next, please. You can ignore this one. Okay, before coming to the grounded theory, you can go back to the previous slide. Okay, see, ethnography, for example, some examples that I can quote for your understanding. What is the impact of peer pressure on student behavior? Could be an area for an ethnographic study. Does the gender of the teacher affect the class participation? Or moving from the uniform of teacher from sari to that of a churidar, does it affect the learning outcome of the student? Does teacher movement in the class contribute to desirable student behavior? How the teacher movement in the class could be designed for a desirable outcome? Or teachers in bars, in bars or pubs, from professional to personal self. I wouldn't want to shoot nobody in quotes. The out of school curriculum as described by urban students. These are some of the already done work in the ethnographic study, some samples for your understanding. Next one, grounded theory. Grounded theory approach in research. This is strongly rooted in social science research. This grounded theory emphasizes the development of theory, a new theory or a new practice, a new principle by means of a qualitative research, which is grounded in data systematically collected and analyzed. Theory must be faithful to the evidence, looks for generalizable theory by making comparisons across situations. Focus is on patterns of actions and interaction. So grounded theory is a particular kind of approach. See, in the purely scientific positivist paradigm, we made a comment that this positivist paradigm is used for creating theory. Then the great argument against qualitative research that comes from the traditionalist. Traditionalist here in the sense means the so-called quantitative research fans. Because due to the for 50 to 60 years of acquaintance with that particular approach, there is a general feeling that is only the kind of research that is possible. So the qualitative research doesn't result in any theory formation. But grounded theory is a particular kind of design that could be used for the new theory or principle or a kind of new knowledge creation is possible by means of qualitative research also. See, for example, next. Move to the next slide, please. Okay, before coming to phenomenology, please go back. Okay, grounded theory, some cases that I can suggest only for our understanding. Military spouse employment. For example, an army officer is accepting a teacher from the army school itself as a spouse, as a life partner. Military spouse employment. A grounded theory approach to experience and perceptions. So, by which new kind of social theories could be developed by means of this grounded theory approach, or a virtual laboratory in real classroom settings. You know, in today's science classes, possibility of virtual tour and virtual laboratory is highly possible. We are replacing the real laboratory experience. Suppose that we are replacing the real laboratory experience with a virtual laboratory experience. Then how this virtual laboratory in a real classroom setting will make the learning experiences of the learner? I think that from this part of the world, that is in the southern part of India, or in the southern part of Kerala state, none of the researchers have attempted this kind of research. This is a very good area in which we can have a new vision or new theory development. Or in today's central government budget, there is a provision for new gen Anganwadis. Maybe around 2 lakhs of Anganwadis across the nation will be generated within the next 10 to 12 months. That is the proposal given in the budget. See, new gen Anganwadis in rural settings of India. That's a very, very robust and very contemporary, very new area which could be subjected for a grounded theory design in qualitative study. And a researcher, if any one of you making an immediate finding on this particular area, will get a very fresh new theory you can develop. So new gen Anganwadis. How that new gen Anganwadis, nobody, the union budget doesn't describe how this new gen Anganwadis is to look like or to function. But you may be able to design a new gen Anganwadi. You have to establish that particular thing. We have certain assumptions that the infrastructure must be there, the other facilities are there, the smart classroom may be there, then high-speed network may be there. There are certain assumptions are there. But that is for the early childhood education the Anganwadis are meant for. So this new gen Anganwadis in a rural setting of India is going to be a question. Whether it become a fish out of water, that may be another question. So this will be a very fresh area for grounded theory approach. So that new wisdom, new theory could be generated by means of grounded theory. Coming to next, the phenomenology. The fourth kind of design in qualitative research is rooted basically in philosophy. The major question is, what is the meaning, structure, and essence of the lived experience of this phenomenon for this particular person or group of people? How each individual's subjectivity, subjective reality applied to make experience meaningful. And even the analysis of the language used by the people in that particular culture itself is a question. Is a particular is very significant. For example, many of the tribal studies, or even suppose that a linguist is exploring the tribal languages of certain different tribes. There may be some certain dialectical usage difference, some kind of similarities and difference. There may the meaning itself of the word, similarly sounding word, may have a different contextual meaning. So all these could be subjected for previous one. All these could be subjected for phenomenological studies. For example, I'll narrate a case in which a particular father and son, an LKG student or a kindergarten student is going to the school, so that the school is nearby a park. Suppose that the school is nearby a park. The case number 1, the father leading the child to the school. Father is moving front, and the little child is moving aside, slowly observing the surroundings. And the particular child notices that there is a wetland area nearby that park, that the ducks are swimming in the water. See, by means of the natural enthusiasm, the child removes his hand from the father's hand and stops there for a while, watching the natural movement of the ducks over water, enjoys the situation. Suddenly, father says that, okay, you take some time. He may wait for 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes there. And after that enthusiasm of the child is over, the father again grasps the hand of the child and slowly lead him to the school. Second case, another father coming with another child. So the same route they are following through that wetland area. The ducks are again moving. The child wished to wait for a while, observe the natural movement of the ducks, and then enjoy the situation and want to go, similar to the previous child. But the father says that, see, always you have to catch my hand and you have to follow my direction, and you should not move away from me. So come, I will drop you there at the school. These are two phenomena that happens in the same time zone with a little gap, 5 minutes gap. Two cases of a father and son moving to a kindergarten of nearby a park. On one side of the park there is a wetland area, a natural setting. This is two phenomena. See, this analytical nature of these two phenomena will give a little more insight into the behavioral pattern, the relationship maintained by the teacher, the parent and the child. See, there are many cases in our natural settings that should be observed with a scientific mechanism, with a research mind mechanism, but we are accustomed only with the pre-test, post-test design and doing certain statistical gimmicks. The phenomenology. Next one is hermeneutics. So hermeneutic is actually a meaning searching process. Hermeneutic is the method of interpreting the meaning of a text. See, in qualitative research, there are lot of opportunities, there are lot of cases are there, situations are there in which we have to interpret, especially when we read the Holy Scriptures or even the classics or even the rare books of the previous generation. That could be interpreted in the new situation. So that comes under the hermeneutic study. A text can be any form of communication. The interpretation is not just what is being said, but how it is said as well. See, the literary criticism is a kind of hermeneutic activity. in language or even liberal art research, this could be, hermeneutics could be easily employed. Next. So hermeneutical, there are different kinds of different bifurcations of hermeneutic. One is hermeneutical phenomenological research, a combination of hermeneutics and phenomenology, which uses lived experiences as a tool for better understanding of the social, cultural, political, or historical context in which those experiences happens. See the particular case of issue of the Boris Johnson, who has conducted a particular party with less than 25 people. It's a family and close relative function, but because of being in a responsible position, who violated the protocol, become a national criticism all on a sudden. See, these kind of situations are there. Many situations are there. We just ignore everything you take a school system itself. Many different such a kind of analytical interpretation required situations are there, which we may not consider at all for our research work. Hermeneutic inquiry almost always focuses on meaning and interpretation. See, there are 700 crore people maybe there on the earth. They are observing the same phenomenon. Each one is having their own meaning and their own interpretation. So that the multiple reality is an accepted thing in social science research. So that the meaning of one person will be different for another person. So first person being a teacher, and the meaning may be so important. The second person may be a person who is working on street, and his meaning doesn't have any particular significance. We cannot argue like that. All that meaning has its own importance. So hermeneutic is a kind of meaning finding, not only from the text, from the life context, social settings, etc. Next. And so, what are the today's intake for you? Maybe a qualitative research general introduction, a quantitative versus qualitative comparison, and a qualitative research design types, 4 or 5 items that I have taken. I hope that this presentation I have made for a presentation or a course in qualitative research may take 3 or 4 hours to completely discuss. But I'm just stopping this, going to be the end of part 1. In the coming weeks, as time permits, I may interact with each one of you with more technically rich support, so that you may get an uninterrupted presentation. Thank you very much. Next.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. As coordinator of MTTC.
Thank you, sir. It was
Thank you, sir.
absolutely okay, ma'am.
Okay, Nitya, please continue.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. It was absolutely incredible how you tailored your research experience for the audience and captivated them from the beginning of your presentation till the end. You also enriched the session with your wide experience and practical knowledge about qualitative research and its categories. So with that, the floor is open for discussion. Participants are requested to raise their queries.
Mr. Uday Kumar was asking something. Mary Florence has raised her hand. Sri Lakshmi raised her hand.
Hi, sir. I'm Mary Florence from Bangalore, sir. Actually, it's a very good session. All the PPTs were very good, sir. And I went back to my MSW days because we had a subject called research methodology. So it was very meaningful and a lot of takeaway. Thank you very much, sir. All the best, sir.
Thank you, Mary Florence, for your continuous interest in this program and regular presence and responses.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Uday Kumar, Yes, raise some voice, please. Come on. What's up, sir? What's
Yes,
up,
sir.
sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Really, I appreciate the presentation from beginning till the end. But I have inquiry in case study, as I read in the screen, that interest in the individual case rather than a method of inquiry. Then data may be quantitative or qualitative. Then focus on can be what can be learned from the individual. But sometimes, sir, we find that cases we read a comparison between two societies or two groups on the same topic, but below the title we say this is a case study. Now, is it a comparison between? Can we say that case study is a comparison between two point of views in the same or different societies about a certain topic? Can we consider it a case study in such a situation?
The question is very clear that whether a case study mainly particular on a particular individual or a group or a particular case, and whether if we make a comparative analysis of the of two particular groups, that could be made into a particular. If you are taking a particular group, you can take it as a case study, but a comparative analysis between, for example, you have to take a particular kind of variable in comparing the two groups' behavior, so that the design could be something different.
Okay, but when we say the case study, do we mean with the case study that this study is specialized for certain case, for this case only, or for this title, or for this topic? Can we say that this is the case study?
I couldn't get your question, sir.
When you say, I give you an example. One of the titles I read, the pre-writing activities, the effect of pre-writing activities on students' composition.
Okay.
Now, the comparison between students of fifth grade in Jordan and the fifth grade students in India.
Okay.
And below they write a case study. Now, what does the case study related to? The students.
See, we can take a case study as an individual effort, or even with that of a group also. For example, if you are taking that group, it becomes a school or a particular classroom or a country or a region.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Very kind of you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Uday Kumar.
Hello.
To speak something, please.
Hello, sir. Very good, sir. Very good evening, sir. Sir, I want to clear my doubt. So now everything is going on through this online process due to this COVID pandemic. Now my doubt is, sir, I want to study how the this online or virtual what we can say virtual platform. We want to study how a particular school is going to adopt this and how it is effective, and whether we can take this as a case study. Hello. 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 Hello.
Sir, it's audible.
Hello. Yeah, sir.
Sir, it is audible.
Did you get my point, sir? Hello. Hello.
Hello. Uday Kumar, continue.
Hello, sir. Good evening. Sir, did you get my point?
Yeah, just repeat it. There was some interruption during in line.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. So my doubt is, suppose now we are in the online platform due to this pandemic, COVID pandemic. My doubt is,
Yes.
suppose I want to study a particular school or an institution,
Okay.
how this online platforms are, whether it is effective or not. Can I take this as a case study of a particular school's case?
You can take it as a kind of a situation. You
Case.
can convert it as a particular kind of phenomenological analysis. This particular social situation is a kind of a phenomenon of this very specific time during this pandemic period. That you can one part of the one part of that particular broad study could be case study of that particular school. You can combine more than one approaches in a qualitative study, not to have a particular single kind of design. A particular part could be a case study followed by a phenomenological analysis. You can club together. There is freedom for that. That depends upon the area of work that we are selecting. And before coming to the selection of the particular research design, we should have a thorough discussion with a group of experts, those who would be able to guide you, so that you can design what kind of, which part of this could be a case study and which part could be a phenomenological study and so on.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Chat box, is there any comments or queries?
No, sir, there is no queries.
Okay.
Benedict sir, good evening,
Now,
sir.
good
Thank you,
evening,
sir, for your
sir.
presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We got plenty of new knowledge today. I would like to ask something, sir. Can we mix these two, sir? Can we blend quantitative and qualitative together?
Actually, there is a lot of possibilities. Nowadays, the trend is mixing up of the qualitative, quantitative. You can have maybe 4 or 5 segments in your research. The initial may be quantitative or maybe qualitative. The next section may be quantitative, followed by another qualitative. Then a closing phase again quantitative. Like that, a qual mixing is possible. When we come to the total ending of this presentation, which may have more than 100 slides with me in this particular preparation itself, that must be edited. But at the closing phase, there are some slides on the mixed method also I have prepared, but that doesn't cover in today's presentation. This I consider only as the part 1. There are possibilities.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
We move to the next section to save the time.
Okay, sir. Now I invite Ronald Rose, research scholar, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Ronald, please wait, Ronald, 1 second. Thank you very much, sir. As coordinator of MTTC Research, I am grateful to you, sir, for sharing this very highly informative session for all of us. And it is very useful, not only to scholars, but also to supervisors also. Personally speaking, your thesis entitled Non-Formal Models in Chemistry served as a platform of guidance during my research work, especially
thank you very much.
Yes, it is especially the concept cartoon model, and it was some sort of relief for me at that time to see such a thesis on qualitative research, and it served as a lighthouse for researchers. I am sure that it is a lighthouse for researchers in qualitative research, and I think it is all because of your personal ability, being a man of determination.
And the inspiration we got from Dr. N, the magnificent visualizer, Dr. N. Vedamani Ma'am.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. That's the truth. And being a man of determination, what I admire in you is the ability to overcome the challenges. And that itself is a needed requirement for qualitative research. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. And we are looking forward for the part 2 session also, sir.
It may not finish. Maybe part 3 and 4 may be there, I think.
Okay.
As per my
Okay,
assumption. See that for one lighter in the lighter sense, one particular thing is that amidst the academic and administrative difficulty that a researcher faces, if you are a qualitative researcher, you have to overcome the social trauma also to complete your research.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us. Ronald, please continue.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Sir Ronald.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Very warm good evening to one and all. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. First of all, I would like to thank our beloved principal, Dr. Benedict, sir, and as we all know, he was the resource person of today's session. A special mention to our principal for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as pillars of strength. Also today, we experienced a brilliant presentation on the topic, a welcome note on qualitative research. Thank you, sir, for your brilliant presentation. Next, I would like to thank our research coordinator, Dr. Bindu ma'am. She always plays a prominent role in making this talk series a successful one. Thank you, ma'am, for your presence here. Next, I would like to thank Dr. George Jones, sir. He is always a source of constant motivational force for us. Thank you, sir, for your support and caring. Next, my sincere gratitude goes to Dr. Nancy, teacher, for the technical support here. Thank you, ma'am, for your presence here. Next, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to all the staff members of MTTC family. Finally, I would like to thank our fellow researchers who worked behind the curtain to make this event happen. In the end, thank you all for being with us. Once again, thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, especially Dr. Nancy, for taking the stealing my PowerPoint presentation from Amala. Actually, unfortunately, that PowerPoint presentation is a previous version. Actually, the one that I had in my presentation has some 2 or 3 other slides also, and I couldn't. That is the participatory action research. I escaped from this presentation. I will begin the next part 2 with the participatory action research.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Ronald. Google form link for e-certificate is posted in the chat box. Kindly fill the feedback form so that we can provide your e-certificate. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your presence and participation for making this session a successful one. Sorry for the inconvenience caused due to some technical issue which have occurred during the meeting. So we the team apologize to the time you have lost the same. The program will be ended after the national anthem being played. Kindly stay with us. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time with another enriching section. Thank you.